Friendship is often seen as a pleasant extra, but crises reveal how much our survival depends on strong connections. This matters because our bodies and minds do not treat belonging as a mere decoration or leisure activity. Isolation hurts because human life developed within groups that required allies, attention, and cooperation. Therefore, chosen bonds carry far more weight than mere entertainment, convenience, or occasional emotional comfort. What appears to be private from the outside actually shapes stress, mood, resilience, and the length of a life. For years, science overlooked this because friendships seemed too soft and difficult to measure compared to family or romance. Newer research has changed this by revealing clear biological and evolutionary foundations beneath everyday social ties. Loneliness no longer looks sentimental, but rather like an urgent warning signal with real consequences. You will see how attachment, brain function, health, adolescence, time, technology, and aging all reshape what friendship means. Friendship by Lydia Denworth brings these patterns into focus, so subscribe to the channel for more grounded relationship thinking. Friendship makes more sense when relationships are viewed as a lifelong pattern rather than a childhood phase. Early attachment is crucial because humans first learn safety, distress, closeness, and trust through dependent bonds. That pattern does not vanish in adulthood, even as relationships extend beyond parents and family. Adults still seek known and trusted people when danger, illness, uncertainty, or grief suddenly close in. Friendship grows from this larger relational logic, not from a shallow desire for company or approval. While similarity helps people start, shared vision, reliability, and emotional meaning help them remain. Strong friendships also require vulnerability, as intimacy deepens when stories and fears can be entrusted. That is why enduring bonds often feel both comforting and demanding at the same time. They provide refuge during pressure, while also demanding honesty, reciprocity, and repeated care. Friendship becomes deeper when trust is practiced over time instead of assumed from the start. Friendship relies on a brain that notices other people with unusual speed and sensitivity. Social information arrives through senses before reflection begins, making faces, voices, gestures, and touch matter. Infants already orient towards social cues, showing that friendship rests on older developmental machinery. Later, empathy expands this machinery by helping one person register another's feelings and needs. Conversation then becomes more than talking, as shared attention slowly creates shared understanding. Good interaction links perception, emotion, and response, rather than leaving each person sealed inside private thoughts. Familiarity with a friend's expressions and rhythms makes them easier to read. This familiarity helps explain why a close person can calm stress or make challenges feel manageable. Even likeness in how two brains process the world can predict who is likely to become friends. Friendship therefore lives partly in invisible coordination, long before anyone tries to define it aloud. Friendship impacts health by altering what the body expects from the world, partly due to the closeness it brings. When connection feels reliable, stress can settle rather than remaining chronically aroused and vigilant. When connection feels absent, the body may shift toward threat, pressure, poor sleep, and a worse mood. Research on loneliness has made this clear by linking social pain to cardiovascular strain and later health issues. Higher blood pressure, greater stress activity, and weaker sleep are not abstract ideas to a lonely person. Close relationships also help through practical care, emotional regulation, encouragement, and healthier daily routines. A friend notices trouble, drives the car, keeps the running plan alive, or listens before panic hardens. But not every tie protects equally, as ambivalent relationships can burden the body instead of soothing it. Quality matters here. As warm, dependable bonds protect differently from unpredictable or draining connections, friendship changes health not through magic, but through repeated effects on behaviour, physiology, and felt safety. Adolescence intensifies friendships because belonging becomes socially visible at a time when identity is still unstable. Status, exclusion, lunch tables, bullying, and shifting loyalties all become emotionally charged. That is why early secondary school can feel chaotic, even when nothing dramatic appears from the outside. Young people enter larger systems, carry old ties with them, then quickly discover wider circles and sharper sorting. Similar interests matter, but so do reputation, vulnerability, and feeling safe enough to stay. Instability is common because adolescence opens social horizons before judgment and security fully mature. Friendship in those years can start to resemble attachment, as peers increasingly become sources of refuge. The pain of exclusion cuts deeply because teenagers are still learning to manage social threat. What appears as overreaction often reflects a brain and body treating belonging as essential, not trivial. If these ideas help you understand friendship pressure better, subscribe to the channel for more clear social science. Loneliness is not merely being alone, as solitude can be chosen, whereas loneliness feels imposed and painful. The deeper issue is a thwarted need for emotional closeness or meaningful social contact. This pain matters because perceived isolation can distort attention before a person even realizes it. Someone who most needs connection may start scanning harder for rejection, threat, and negative cues. This creates a cruel loop where loneliness increases the very vigilance that makes reconnection harder. Depression, withdrawal, and strained interpretation can follow when the mind begins to expect social harm. The body then reinforces this pattern, leading to poor sleep, blood pressure changes, and chronic stress. Loneliness therefore becomes dangerous partly because it narrows perception as well as companionship. Friendship helps by interrupting that loop with steadier signals of care, trust, and recognition. The need underneath loneliness is not weakness, but a basic human requirement for connection. Friendship is not only shaped by feelings, but also by the practical limitations of time. Every adult has competing obligations, so closeness must be distributed unevenly across a broader network. This does not make outer circles useless, as broader networks still carry information, support, and opportunity. Inner circles, however, matter differently because repeated time together creates intimacy, familiarity, and reliable access. Research shows that closeness grows through hours spent talking, hanging out, and sharing life. Mere proximity is not enough when conversation, trust, and chosen attention never deepen beyond obligation. Social networks therefore reveal both structure and purpose, tracing who connects, what flows, and who remains central. Across the lifespan, people often prune outer circles and keep fewer, stronger ties. This narrowing can be wise rather than tragic when it reflects quality, not simple retreat. Friendship needs time because attention is the material from which durable closeness is slowly built. Digital tools transform the mechanics of friendship more quickly than they altered the fundamental human need beneath it. People now message, post, react, and maintain contact across distances with a much broader array of tools. This expansion helps some relationships survive moves, transitions, and busy schedules that once would have broken their momentum. However, screens also remove visual cues, soften accountability, and make misunderstandings more likely during raw emotional moments. Teenagers especially feel this tension because online life amplifies adolescence rather than replacing it. The same search for validation, disclosure, support, and belonging appears on apps and in cafeterias alike. Strong relationships still depend on presence, attention, and protected time, even when technology helps bridge distance. This is why families establish limits when devices start to crowd out the people physically in front of them. The key point is not that technology ruins friendship, but that it cannot do friendship's deepest work alone. Screens can extend a bond, but real closeness still requires trust, interpretation, and shared time. Deep friendship is not only a social story. Brain systems reward certain forms of attention and care. Social perception networks track faces, eyes, rank, intention, and the likely meaning of another person's actions. Hormones also matter, as they can increase attention, recognition, empathy, and motivation toward other individuals. But these biological rewards are not distributed evenly across every passing social contact. Close bonds matter more because familiarity and trust sharpen the value of one person over another. That selectivity helps explain why friendship feels rewarding in a deeper way than casual interaction. It also explains why good conversation can feel creative rather than merely informative or efficient. Minds do not simply exchange words during closeness. They begin constructing shared understanding in real time. Biology therefore supports friendship by making certain people more salient, calming, and rewarding to engage. What feels emotionally meaningful is often backed by systems for recognition, reward, and coordinated attention. In the long run, friendship matters most because the shape of a life is partly defined by its bonds. This becomes clearer with age, as networks shrink and only the most meaningful ties remain. Good relationships protect health, soften pain, steady memory, and make ordinary days more livable. Poor or absent relationships, on the other hand, do the opposite, especially when loneliness accumulates over years without repair. The practical challenge is that friendship rarely survives on goodwill alone and must be chosen deliberately. Time, attention, conversation, body presence, and dependable care must be protected before crisis arrives. This does not require a huge network. Satisfaction and warmth often matter more than sheer quantity. It does require refusing the habit of treating friendship as what remains after everything else is finished. A better life becomes possible when connection is planned, preserved, and considered part of health itself. If you want wiser ways to build lasting closeness, subscribe to the channel for more practical relationship insights.